All right, so are you ready to dive deep into the world of Simon Cowell?
Oh, I'm ready.
We've got these excerpts from his interview on that Diary of a CEO YouTube channel,
Okay, yeah.
and it's honestly like way more insightful than you'd expect.
Really?
Yeah, it's not your typical like polished celebrity thing.
No.
This is Simon Cowell, unfiltered,
Wow.
sharing some seriously surprising life lessons.
I'm intrigued.
So it's like you think, Simon Cowell, right, Mr. Mean Judge.
Right, yeah, from all the talent shows and stuff.
But this deep dive reveals a whole other side of him.
Okay. Interesting.
I mean, it's easy to forget that the guy who basically built an empire on those talent shows had his own share of struggles.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, he almost went broke in his 30s.
Oh, wow.
And then becoming a dad completely changed his whole outlook on life.
It's amazing how those big life events can shift everything.
Absolutely. It's like a total 180.
Yeah, for sure.
But, okay, let's rewind all the way back to his childhood.
Okay.
He says it was like a happy childhood, but kind of boring. Which is actually what he says fueled his ambition.
Oh, that's interesting.
Like he was hustling even as a kid,
What was he doing?
washing cars to earn spending money so he could go on those family vacations.
Wow. So that drive was there early on.
Definitely. And his parents also played a big role in shaping his values.
I can see that.
He talked about how they really instilled in him like the importance of good manners
Oh, nice.
and treating everyone with respect no matter who they are.
That's huge, especially in an industry known for big egos and all that.
Totally. And he even shared this advice that his dad gave him.
What was it?
He said, everyone has a sign on their head that says, "Make me feel important."
That's powerful.
Right.
I can see how that would stick with someone.
And it seems like it's something he genuinely tries to do.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. People are more likely to go the extra mile for someone who actually makes them feel valued.
Exactly.
So, okay, what about his early career?
Oh, get ready for this.
Yeah.
It's full of surprises, like almost comical near misses.
Okay, lay it on me.
So picture this Simon Cowell as a trainee at Tesco.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, clashing with the interviewer because of his jeans.
No way, Simon Cowell getting dress coded.
I know, right? Then he almost became a law clerk.
A lawyer.
Almost landed a runner job on The Shining.
Wow, that would have been interesting.
I know, right?
So what happened?
He ended up, wait for it, in the mailroom at EMI Music Publishing.
What? The Simon Cowell sorting mail?
Yep. Talk about unexpected beginnings.
That is wild.
Seriously. But you know what's crazy is he calls it his sliding doors moment.
Meaning?
He could have gone down the film route, but he chose the music post room.
So that one decision totally changed the course of his life.
Absolutely. But here's the thing. He didn't just sort mail. He was strategic about it.
Oh, how so?
He was bombarding everyone with questions about the music industry, like turning it into his own music business school.
That's smart.
Right.
Using the time to learn, even though it wasn't like a glamorous job.
Exactly. And then comes this period where his hustle is on full display.
What's he up to now?
So he launches this music publishing company.
Like,
It totally flops.
oh no.
Like offices in a car park flop.
Ouch.
Then he starts his own record label, almost goes bankrupt at 30.
Wow, that's a lot of ups and downs.
It's a wild ride. And there's this story about Sunita.
Snitta the singer.
Yeah, he was working with her at the time, and her records just weren't selling.
So what did he do?
He convinced his old boss to give him like 5,000 pounds.
Seriously?
And he basically becomes this one-man show.
What do you mean?
He's producing the music video handling distribution,
He's doing everything.
even figuring out ways to manipulate the stock levels to get her record noticed on the charts.
Talk about resourceful.
It's incredible, right? He was playing the music industry game on hard mode.
It sounds like it.
But then comes this totally out there approach that changes everything.
Oh, what's that?
He decides to use television as a platform to sell music.
Interesting.
And this is what leads to some unexpected hits. Like, you remember that platinum-selling wrestling
A
album?
wrestling album?
Yeah, it's like he hacked the system.
Okay, I'm going to need to hear more about this in part 2.
Oh, you definitely will.
This is crazy.
I know it's wild.
Simon Cowell is full of surprises.
Definitely.
I can't wait to hear what else he's got up his sleeve.
We'll be back with more in just a bit.
Sounds good.
Stick around. Welcome back to our Simon Cowell Deep Dive.
Back for more.
So in part 1, we uncovered some pretty surprising stuff, like his early influences
Right, his childhood hustles.
and all those almost comical career near misses.
And that mailroom stint, I still can't get over that.
I know, it's crazy, but now we're going to explore his approach to success.
Okay, because he definitely doesn't follow the traditional playbook.
Exactly. It's like he's always thinking a few steps ahead.
Like that whole using television to sell music thing.
Right. It was genius and so ahead of its time.
Totally. It's a perfect example of what we call first principles thinking.
Okay, break that down for me.
So instead of just following the established way of doing things, you break down a problem to its most basic elements and then build up solutions from there.
So, like, instead of relying on radio and traditional media to promote music,
Exactly. He thought, what's the ultimate goal here?
to get the music heard by as many people as possible.
Exactly. And he realized that TV had a much wider reach.
It's like he was playing chess while everyone else was playing checkers.
And he wasn't afraid to challenge the status quo.
Like, remember how he launched Robson and Jerome?
The singing duo from that TV show, Soldier is Soldier?
Yeah, he didn't discover them through traditional talent scouting, did he?
Nope. He heard about them through his connections in the TV sales department.
No way. So he was already thinking about cross-platform promotion even back then.
He was always looking for those unconventional opportunities.
And he wasn't afraid to push boundaries even if it got him into trouble sometimes.
Oh, what do you mean?
Remember those Megamix albums he put out?
Oh, yeah, the ones where he'd hire singers to sound like popular artists.
Exactly like Kylie Minogue. And it worked. They were hugely popular.
Until George Michael sued him.
Oops. Yeah. But it shows his willingness to experiment.
Definitely. But speaking of talent spotting, let's talk about One Direction.
Because he saw something special in them, even during their awkward X Factor audition.
It was more than just their singing, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, he talked about seeing them on a beach in Spain.
Oh, yeah, like before they were famous.
And people were turning heads like they were already stars.
So he just had this feeling.
Like he could sense that it factor, that intangible star quality.
And let's be real, his instincts were spot on.
For sure. One Direction became a global phenomenon.
But it's interesting how realistic he was about managing them.
Yeah, he didn't sugarcoat the pressures of fame.
He warned them about the long hours, the media scrutiny, the loss of privacy.
He even told them they'd probably want to go their separate ways after a few years.
He was right.
It's like he was preparing them for the roller coaster that is fame.
The highs and the lows.
And even with all his success, he's still honest about his regrets.
Like not owning the One Direction name.
Yeah, it's a business lesson we can all learn from.
For sure, protect your intellectual property.
So what about the future of music?
Especially with technology changing everything.
Right. Well, he's launching a new boy band search.
Which means he still believes in that human element.
Definitely. But he also acknowledged the rise of AI in music.
Yeah. He even mentioned that virtual Japanese pop star.
The ones selling out stadiums.
It's mind-blowing.
But he thinks people will always crave the real thing, you know?
Like those authentic in-person experiences.
It's like we're at this crossroads where technology is both disrupting and redefining the music industry.
And Simon Cowell, with all his experience, is in a unique position to weigh in on this.
He even talked about how trends seem to move in cycles.
Oh yeah, like what?
Vinyl records making a comeback, bowling alleys being cool again.
And those immersive in-person experiences like escape rooms.
It's like we crave that balance between the digital and the physical.
Exactly. And that's something to think about in your own life, too.
Are there ways you can use technology to amplify your creativity or connect with others?
But also, when do you need to disconnect and engage with the real world?
It's about finding that sweet spot.
Because Simon Cowell's story shows us that success isn't just about fame and fortune.
It's about purpose, passion, and making a meaningful contribution to the world.
And embracing the journey, the ups and the downs.
This has been an incredible deep dive so far.
I'm ready for the final part.
Stick around. We'll be right back.
And we're back for the final part of our Simon Cowell deep dive.
It's been a wild ride so far.
Wow, totally. Like from the mailroom to music mogul.
Who would have guessed?
But now we're getting into some really personal stuff.
Okay, I'm all ears.
Because he gets really candid about some of his struggles, like with depression.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he talked about feeling lost and unhappy, especially after his mom died.
That's really tough.
And he said he coped by just like throwing himself into work.
I can see how that could happen.
Becoming like this self-proclaimed vampire.
What do you mean?
Thriving on late nights and crazy schedules.
The workaholic lifestyle?
Oh.
Exactly. And it makes you realize that even someone who seems to have it all can still be battling those inner demons.
It's so true. Like, we never really know what's going on behind the scenes.
And it's also a reminder to pay attention to those signs of burnout.
Yeah, and to seek help when you need it.
Which is exactly what Cowell did. He finally went to therapy.
Good for him.
And he credits it with helping him, like, reprioritize his life.
To find that balance.
And it's so refreshing to hear him talk about it so openly.
Especially with all the stigma around mental health.
Right, like he even gave a shout-out to his therapist, Justin,
Oh, that's sweet.
calling him a friend and saying how grateful he is for his help.
It's a powerful message, you know?
Totally. Like, it normalizes the conversation around mental health.
And shows that asking for help is okay.
Exactly. Now, another turning point he talked about was becoming a dad.
To his son, Eric?
Yeah, he described it as a total game changer.
Like in what way?
It pulled him out of that workaholic spiral
Uh-huh.
and filled his life with a whole new sense of purpose and joy.
It's amazing how those big life events can shift everything.
Absolutely. But he was also incredibly honest about his back injury.
The one in 2020.
Yeah, he talked about the pain, the fear, the long recovery.
That must have been terrifying.
It's a reminder that life can change in an instant.
And that we're not invincible.
But even that experience had a silver lining.
Really? How so?
It forced him to reprioritize his health,
To slow down.
to really appreciate his body.
It's like finding the good and the bad.
Exactly. Now, towards the end of the interview, he reflected on his legacy.
Oh, that's interesting.
And he said he wants to be remembered as someone who treated people well.
That's pretty humble considering his reputation.
Right. It shows a different side of him.
And what about his professional legacy?
He talked about achieving success without forgetting where he came from.
Staying grounded.
And he even shared some advice he'd give to his son if he went into the professional world.
What kind of advice?
He emphasized finding your passion, putting in the work, being patient.
Solid advice.
And he admitted to making mistakes along the way.
Like what?
Not keeping ownership of the One Direction name.
Oh, yeah, he mentioned that before.
He called it a moment of naivete.
But hey, we all make mistakes.
It's all part of the learning process.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what are your biggest takeaways?
Well, I think it's clear that success isn't always a straight path.
There are going to be detours and bumps along the way.
Exactly. And it's so important to trust your gut, but also to be self-aware.
Knowing your strengths and weaknesses.
And being open to learning from your mistakes.
Because sometimes those mistakes lead to the greatest breakthroughs.
It's all about embracing the journey.
The good, the bad, and the unexpected.
And remembering that true success is about more than just achieving your goals.
It's about finding fulfillment along the way.
This has been such an insightful deep dive.
I feel like I have a whole new perspective on Simon Cowell.
He's definitely full of surprises.
And valuable lessons.
We hope you've enjoyed this exploration as much as we have.
And we'd love to hear your thoughts.
What surprised you most about Simon Cowell? What resonated with you?
Head over to our social media and share your reflections.
Until next time, keep diving deep.